Hello and welcome to the second game here between AoL Recon, who is up here in the white as Marines, and SpectreKingPrime, who is down here in this awful light blue as the Guardians. So in the last game, if you haven't seen this, AoL Recon took a victory with a very Wyvern heavy play. Now, I said at the end of the last video, I don't think this is going to work again. And I hope he does a similar style so that we can see what happens. Again, this is going to be quite aggressive. He's searching for those troops to find them. The correct strategy there by Spectre to try and hold this off, which is move your starting 3 units back to hide them until you can get the second engineer out. Now with 2 engineers, this should be a bit of a better hold, although he didn't split them fast enough there, so the first couple harpy hits are going to be AoE, but once you've got 2 or 3 of these engineers, the healing does become very nice. This is still being incredibly hard to hold up. Just AoL Recon just keeping the Harpy moving so that the Marine gets 3 shots. But this Harpy died a lot sooner than last game, which is going to be very nice for him. It looks like Recon was going the same, but this time has made the barracks faster. Maybe because he lost the Harpy. We'll have to see. He's moving out Invisible Harvester. He's moving out his 4th Harvester now. So he's going to have, he's got his good economy set up. Now, this is the point where in a Marine versus Guardians, you normally have to get ready to set up the defense across this line. You want to defend really forward here, because you don't want them to be able to get anywhere near close to this. You need to have a Marine up here and try and defend this middle area. And AoL throwing away oh, he didn't chase it. There we go, he chased it. Yeah, these ogres unfortunately are slow being crushing units, so if you move them in and then they're ready to defend it, it just becomes suicide. This time he didn't get a ridiculous early pressure with his Harpy, so look, there's at this point there was like 4 or 5 less of these, I feel, last game. So now he's going to have to be a lot more defensive than last game, and this is where it becomes very hard for the Marines to defend, because Marines need to stay on at least 4 Harvesters. He has his main Harvester, his expansion Harvester, his 3rd Harvester, and this Harvester up here. If he loses any of these, then he's lost the game. Against a player like Spectre, against another top player, if you lose any of these 4 without a replacement being made, like already out, then you lose the game, because you're going to have to stop production in order to afford another Harvester. And so we can see the wall here being created by Recon, the typical Marine Ogre wall. The Marines are good in this composition here because they will tank a lot of shots from the rocket cars, if not microed enough. And this is a good position here because he can even take this. It's a little bit risky, but you can take this. He can get this further back point, and he has the whole thing covered with Marine Ogre. So this is the advantage on this map against someone like a Guardians player, where you're not expecting them to take advantage of this this middle point down here and send in some air to harass you down here. It does become a bit like Horseshoe, where you have this strong advantage, and yep, Spectre's going to poke up with some rocket cars, and then he's going to see that he doesn't really have a way in yet. But he is already making Spectres, already getting snipers, and there we go. He has adapted to what happened last game and is making air facilities, and Recon once again has gone for that tech. Less ogres, more Marines this time, and is going into what will probably end up being Wyvern production. A little bit of harass there, and he's refixing his line. He's pulling his line back quite far, actually. This is sort of surprising. I guess he's seen what army Troller has, and he thinks, probably quite rightly, because he's only on 2 bases, that he's gonna have trouble defending that fight. But he's very close to his Harvester here. This is not, you want to defend in front of your Harvester. You don't want to be back here. He also has started making Manticores, which right now are going to be kind of bad because there are still some early infantry in here. He does have some of this air now, but he could be making... So this is the point now. He doesn't know it yet, but because there is air now, he should stop making Wyverns immediately and switch to Shrikes, because they are just better in this situation. Oh, and this looks like it's going to be... Yep, this is exactly why I hate playing against Guardians. If you're defending too close to your Harvester, they just arrive, kill it, and leave. What did they lose? They lost a Rocket Car, they lost one Grenadier, they lost a Spectre, second Spectre, 2 Spectres and a Grenadier. And then they turn on the Assault, and this is a win for Spectre right here. Recon pushed up too far behind. There's still lots of infantry which will tank shots from these Manticore. And he just doesn't have enough because he's going for these Wyvern. And in these fights, these Wyvern are just literally doing nothing. So yeah, unfortunately, this looks like sort of what I expected. He lost that Harvester. The reason he quit so soon, he lost that whole army from the fight. He lost that Harvester, so he had to make another Harvester. He would have had to cancel production to make that Harvester because he's only on 3 Harvesters. This Harvester is already heading out, but because that wasn't there yet and he was making this, that's going to slow his production down. I'm just going to... hold on, let's just get this... there we go. Get it nice and quiet. This here, it's perfect that I paused there actually. This is the sort of play that makes it so hard because this Guardian can come up here, kill this, leave, and have lost nothing. And, you know, you might say, even if he loses half these rocket cars, you might say, oh, it's worth it. You've got a load of rocket cars dead, right? But let's watch this and see, right? He's already lost two rocket cars, 3 rocket cars, 3 rocket cars, 1 Grenadier, a Spectre, a second Spectre. That isn't that much when you think that 600 money has to be spent for quite a while making another Harvester to replace that, and he's building a power center, and therefore that is like time where he's gonna have to cancel something, because to produce off all 3 of these structures, especially when you've got 3 of these producing Wyverns of all things, you're gonna need to cancel some of that if you're on 3. If you're on 3 Harvesters, you can only make from 2 of those, probably 1 depending on which one of them you're using and what you're making out of them, if you're going to be making as well, although he is only making a power plant right now. But yeah, that's the difficulty against Marines. Unfortunately, they didn't play another game. I would like to have seen if Recon could play another game against this and go Shrikes and not make Manticores and see if that would be better. I think not having the second factory really hurt him, because the thing you lose against here is the ground army. And even in the last time where he had 2 factory barracks and then drone bays, he lost against the ground army. These do not help you fight the ground army, really. These just sit there and tank a bit until you get to a point where you have so many that your whole ground army dies, and these are actually a threat to the Spectres. So, yeah, in this situation, I think Shrikes would have been better to fight these, because Shrikes would actually kill these. Like, ever. Actually, let's just watch this. Let's just see what happens to these in this fight, right? Can I, kill them all? I can't, right? So, a couple of these get a bit weak. Another Wyvern's coming in. There's a couple of Manticore in here. Another one dies. This is what Manticore and Wyvern do to enemy air. Whereas, if instead you just made Ogres and Shrikes, all of these would be dead. With this building placement, you would have still lost the ground from that, but all of them would be dead. So, long live Shrikes. Manticore are bad. And, thank you for watching.